today I got a video for you with 5 cards and players that I think are going to be potential Hall of Fame candidates, and I think some of them are already locks, and the other ones I think have a chance. But in general, these cards are really undervalued, and I think that as time goes on, you will see some real big opportunities in these cards, and I'll show you why, and give you some more reasons as to why these cards will potentially could go up quite a bit in value. So we'll start with Scott Rowland, so the Bowman's Best Scott Rowland. Now, the card has some value today, but if you compare it to other Hall of Famers, especially given the fact that he doesn't have a huge amount of rookie cards, and obviously the Bowman's Best is by far the better rookie card. He's got a Bowman as well. The pop is, on these cards are pretty low. So you can see he's got a regular and a refractor. And he is on pace to make the Hall of Fame. Now, if you look at his statistics, his straight batting and standards, he's kind of below average from an overall Hall of Fame. But if you look at the third baseman, he would be an above average Hall of Famer for a third baseman, and that is a huge part of why he's going to make the Hall of Fame. Next, if you look at voting trends, he has the highest change in percentage of any other player that didn't make the Hall of Fame last year. And so, and the second piece to look at is his career WAR. Basically, if you take out Clemens and Bonds, who are having issues, obviously because of PEDs, you'll see that Rowland has that 70 WAR, which is turned into sort of a magical number for Hall of Fame players today. 70 plus WAR for a career is a really good indicator that he's going to make a Hall of Fame. Now, you can look on this list, and last year there was no one else with a WAR above 70. And obviously Rowland, I think, was going to gain momentum, and he's only in his third year of voting, so I think you will see him eventually getting into the Hall of Fame in the next few years. Now, as far as value goes, his Bowman's Best base card on a PSA 10 is bringing around $500. The 9, $150, and the refractor for a 9, $800, and 10. Who knows, because one hasn't sold anytime recently. Now, I do think that with the Hall of Fame, the registries out there and the PSA registries, that his base his base Bowman's Best potentially could be $1,000 card as a PSA 10. The pop report isn't going to go nuts on that card, and I do think that it'll. I think it's going to double. I think his 9 is going to be $350 to $400, and the 10 is going to be about $1,000 when it's all said and done. Because there's R9s out there, but I think it'll see that spike for the Hall of Fame. Now, his refractors where it's going to go nuts, because there isn't a lot of 10s. I'm not even sure if the pop report on this is above 5. So getting that 10 is going to be hard to do. And you see the 9's already $800. I think that 10 could be a $10,000 card if he makes the Hall of Fame, and the 9 will eventually get to a $1,200 to $1,500 card. So there's a lot of room left in this card to go. I think that you're going to see a lot of movement on these cards in the future, and they're pretty tough. These are not easy cards to grade and not easy cards to pull. Boxes are 500 plus now, so if good luck in finding one, they're pretty tough. So again, I think Rowland is probably the easiest lock on this list, and his cards have gone up a little bit, but I think there's more runway there. So next up is the 79 Topps Bruce Bochy. Now, this is from a set that's pretty tough. 79 Topps is pretty tough, so anyone who's graded this set knows the centering is really hard in this set now. And on this list, he's definitely number 2 on who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer, guys. I guarantee it. He's got 2,000 wins and 3 World Series titles. It does not matter that he is below 500 for his career, because what he did with the Giants and being able to be on some bad teams and bad franchises and win 3 World Series titles and 2,000 wins. If you look at this list, 2,000 wins is magical. There is no one with 2,000 wins that did make the list. And in fact, if you look at the top 15, the only ones who haven't made the list that you can say is Gene Mach, and he's got, again, a below 500 win percentage, but he has 0 World Series titles, while you've got Bruce Bochy's got 3 World Series titles. He is definitely making this Hall of Fame. His card is tremendously undervalued for what he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I think that the PSA 10 will be $350 to $500, maybe even more depending on the pop report. And the PSA 9 is going to go to that 150 level. So again, a lot of runway here for this card. Next up, 82 Topps, Terry Francona. The Francona is not that tough to grade, so I think this is, unlike the previous 2 cards, this is definitely the one that's going to be the easiest to find and to get in high grade. He's on pace to get 1,700 wins, so that's not, he's already got 1,700 wins, and he's on pace to maybe get to 2,000. So at 2,000, he's an automatic Hall of Famer. So let's just put that number out there. He's got 1,700 wins. If he gets to 2,000, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. Now, he's got a lot of stats, and the one thing to keep in mind with Terry Francona that is really important is that between 2001 and 2003, so 2001, 2002, 2003, he was out of baseball. He didn't manage. And so even if you tack on 70 wins a year, and that's 210 wins he's missing that he normally would have had if he would have had a straight career, where he didn't have years off. Another thing to think about too is as soon as he came back with Boston, so in 2004, he's never had a losing season since. That's pretty impressive. So I think that is a big deal that he has virtually 17 straight, 18 straight years of a winning record. He just finished second last year, so he's still got some pretty big runway, I think, in terms of value. So because if you look at it, $120 as a 10, $15 as a 9. This card is tremendously undervalued. Again, I don't think a 10 goes anywhere under $300 to $400 eventually, and a 9 again will approach $100. This card will be easier to grade than all the other cards on this list, I think. So I think it's going to be something you'll find. But just saying it though is that from a realistic Hall of Fame standards, he is definitely on pace. So Francona, I think he's definitely going to be someone that makes it due to just he's on on that pace. So and historically 2,000 win managers always make the Hall of Fame. So up next is Joe Girardi. Now this is definitely a bigger spec. So Girardi has a much shorter career, and obviously a rookie in 89 Upper Deck, so that helps and hurts. 89 Upper Deck is heavily printed, so this card will be available. I put a big asterisk on that, so I'll talk about it later. So availability will be there, but a big asterisk on that. So let's talk about him as a manager. 1 World Series win and 1,000 wins already. Now, a lot of that came by coaching or managing the Yankees. If you look at Philadelphia, he's got a pretty good team, so I think he's still on pace. Now, value-wise, why I bring him up is that he's worth virtually nothing. He's a guy you can take a flyer on and get a bunch of 10s. Let's say you get 3 or 4 10s if you can find them. For maybe you can get them for around $120, right? That's not a big investment. If it goes to Hall of Famer, those could be $200 to $250 cards. Again, I don't think they'll reach that $500 plus range as some of the previous cards, just because the availability of this card, even much more available than the 82 Topps card of Francona's. But yeah, I think that that card itself, though, it's from a really popular set, so that will help. And obviously, him, already have a one World Series win helps his cause as well. And last up is Joe Madden, on this list of mostly managers. Now, Joe Madden is definitely the lowest shot on here because he's only on pace to win around 1,700 games, and that's a little bit of a stretch, even at that, because he's 67 years old. And the one thing he's got going for him in the big way is he won the first World Series in forever for the Cubs. So he broke the curse. He did something that a lot of people feel is impossible. Now, he's with the Angels, so let's say he wins a World Series with Trout and gives Trout his first World Series. That would go a long way. So I think the only way he makes the Hall of Fame is if he wins another one with Trout or gets closer to 2,000 wins. But he's definitely got a good winning percentage. And he had a lot of years where he was like an interim manager and didn't get a shot early on. So I think that hurt him, but obviously, that win with the Cubs is going to be a heavy factor. Now, value-wise, virtually nothing. $25 for 10. Again, they're available, but again, big asterisks, and I'll talk about that next. So why does this really matter? Okay, I mentioned it earlier, with Scott Rowland, but it's a PSA Hall of Fame registry. The Rookie Hall of Fame registry is immensely competitive, and in cards virtually post 1960, they want 10. So if you're from the 70s on up, and which all these cards are, the only grade they really care about is a PSA 10. If these cards make the registry, they'll be sought after in 10, condition. And so that'll make these cards immediately, sought after by a large amount of PSA collectors. Now, another reason it matters is there's comps out there already. So now Joe Torre is probably the least comp, just because he theoretically could have been a Hall of Famer as a player. He was an MVP. The only other manager that's really comparable to Joe Torre today is like maybe Don Mattingly. And I think Joe Torre was a better player than Don Mattingly. And, Joe Torre was close to being a Hall of Famer as a player. Obviously, the managing of the Yankees put him over the top. He's from a super hard-to-get condition-wise set. So, these don't read a lot into these values. You're not going to get $21,000 for any of the cards on this list. Maybe that 10, Scott Rowland refractor will be a multiple $1,000 card. But, this card itself is special because it's from a really tough set. He was almost a double type Hall of Famer from both a player and a manager. So Torre is a special condition, but it just shows you that manager cards, and can be big. And Joe Torre definitely shows that there's a lot of upside for some of these manager players or manager Hall of Famers. Now, Tony La Russa, if you look at his prices now. If you compare his Hall of Fame 8 to other Hall of Famers from that same era, it's very low. And I will say that his off-the-field issues have really kind of depressed some of his values. But look at that 9 and 10. And I will predict that this card keeps going up over time as more and more registry members look for this card. That 9 and 10, I think, will get more rare, and I think you'll just see it kind of keep going up in value. He's back managing again, so I think that's an interesting take. How that pans out, and it could affect, could not, but it just shows that there is value there. And then last is Bobby Cox, and if you get Bobby Cox values, it's somewhat comparable to Russa. But look at that 10 value, and that just shows you that the 10 value for these cards is so important because it's the registry that's driving it. Now, let's going back to the cards on this list now. Outside of Scott Rowland, no one else on this list is worth grading if PSA comes back with prices that are, let's say, $50 to $100 per card. You know, if they don't come back with a bulk grading option that gives chances at that $15 to $20 range, you know, most cards on this list aren't worth grading because you can see, unless they 10, you have zero shot of making your money back. If they come back with a $50 to $75, you know, minimum floor level grading option, you're not going to see Joe Girardi or Joe Madden cards be submitted at all because right now they're not even, you know, worth being graded, even if they 10. So the pop report on some of these cards could be extremely low for quite a while because there's no real value in those cards. So picking them up now, holding them because we're in this kind of grading pause, and as they get closer and closer to making the Hall of Fame, you're going to see maybe, you know, these cards are artificially rare in terms of graded scarcity. So it's just something to think about. And again, these are, you know, I call value type cards. You know, cheap to speculate on if you're into that kind of thing for the Hall of Fame. And in general, I think at least 3 of the players on this list are surefire locks for the Hall of Fame. And I think everyone else has definitely got a possibility. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll be doing more of these kind of like this. And let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.